let's get going then. It is 3:10. That's the scheduled time. Let's do this. All right. Who's ready for browser hacking? Yeah. All right. Thank you. So this is going to be all about exploiting one particular feature in the browsers, that is autocomplete. Seems like a really tiny feature, but it has all the coolest stuff that you might ever want in a browser. It has your first name, last name, email address, telephone numbers, social security numbers. Everything is in autocomplete that you might ever want, and all you have to do is ask the browser, and it will give it to you. How's that? All right, so for those that don't know me, this is my new bio slide. Graciously given to me by all those in operations at White Hat who do all the website hacking. They thought they'd developed this for me to say thanks. And then I saw this, which is only slightly less good, and I figured I had to put that up there because I thought just that was the coolest thing ever. All right, so a little bit about White Hat Security. White Hat Security, we focus primarily on website security, hacking websites, but that's only one half of web security. The other half is browser security, where I spend, a lot of time. So that's the two halves of web security, and we're going to focus the bulk of our time exclusively on this area because it does not get nearly enough attention. And the reason this stuff is important is because there's 1.67 billion people on the internet, all of which use a browser. Anybody in here not use a browser? Oh, really? Wget? Yep. All right. Except for this gentleman here, it should be relevant to everybody. All right, so 1.67 billion people online. Browser is the window to the internet and everything you want to do online to access Netflix, Bank of America, Bing, Facebook, and everything else. And the websites you're visiting are about 206 million strong or thereabouts. Now, what the bad guys target, the bad guys want access to those users. They like hacking users. So the things that we're going to focus on today, as far as hacking browsers go, they like hacking with things that are the largest market share, exploiting features that are enabled by default. That is really helpful because users tend not to change from the default settings, and serious bonus points for design flaws because they're harder to fix. We like those a lot. Nothing against those that find buffer overflows and memory handling issues. Those are very cool, but I definitely like design flaws. That's where I spend a lot of time. So let's look at the browser market share, the world of browsers. So this is probably, 1 month old now. This is from July of 2010. And this is the type and version of what people tend to use online. And if you look at the top there, 25% of the web uses Internet Explorer 8. And number 2, which is a little distant away within 10 percentage points, is Microsoft Internet Explorer 6. You got Firefox in there. 2 different versions, Chrome, and 17% have some kind of other. We're going to focus on the top ones, these browsers here. That's our largest market share. That's what we're going to target. One of the interesting things here is that if you count IE 6 and 7 together, which would become relevant a little bit later, that is actually the most popular browser out there. The 2 older Internet Explorer browsers, when you combine them, that is the most popular browser in the world. Now, just saying market share numbers, percentages is nice and it's interesting, but it doesn't give you the full scope of what happens when you hack a browser and how many people are impacted. When you multiply 1.67 billion people by market share, you get much different figures. So if you look at IE8, when you find a bug in there, it feasibly affects nearly 500 million people on the planet. IE6, 250 million, Firefox 3.5 and 3.6 combined, 351, and even something with Safari 4 and 5, that's another 83 million. So you can kind of get an idea of how many people are using these browsers and how many people you're going to impact if you're a bad guy finding bugs in these particular pieces of software. Over the years, browsers have given us new and interesting security features out there. They've given us, Chrome has given us sandboxes. That's nice. We've got better code security, memory protection, blacklists, green bars, anti-phishing, everything we might want, and all these features designed to do one thing, give us a nice green bar in the URLs. The types of browser issues I've been spending the last nearly 10 years on are the attacks that stay within the browser walls, the ones that those things don't do anything to protect against, right? So we got these nice little warnings here and there. Those don't mean anything to me. So you see all these, you guys are all familiar with these warnings, right? I think there was one on our website today. It was rather unfortunate. There's also this one that has been fixed too, and I'm really happy about this one. This is on this way out. Everybody here familiar with the CSS history hack? Big list of links. If it's purple, you've been there. If it's blue, you have not. So was a couple of different ways to pull off this hack, but what is in the Firefox nightlies now and in Safari 5, and I believe it's already in Chrome, is that they fixed this issue. They actually fixed it by breaking this functionality in JavaScript and CSS. You can no longer do this hack with as much efficiency. You can still do it with a timing-based way, but it's not nearly as efficient. I don't know if IE 8 or 9 is going to do it anytime soon, but at least this one is going to be on its way out as people upgrade their browsers eventually. This one will be going the way of, well, the dinosaur, the raptor. And so we'll see how this happens. But this is one of the 10-year-old design flaws that is now on the way out, which it tells you about how long it takes to update or get a design flaw out of the web security system. You can still tell, using other ways, where a user is logged in, just not with CSS history hacking. Just briefly, since we have the time, how do you do this with CSRF? If I were to give you a URL to say some message, your contact list in Yahoo Mail, if I put that into an image source and put it on my blog, it would take a different amount of time for it to respond to your browser. So you can actually detect using CSRF if a user is logged in or not using the little CSRF hack. Again, not as scalable as the CSS history hack, but it still works nonetheless. Now, given all these issues are getting fixed, CSS history hacking and CSRFs are getting fixed out there, we still don't want to let that hold us back if we're the bad guy. For a bad guy, once you visit a website, this is what we want. I want to know your name, I want to know who you work for, I want to know where you live, and I want to know your email address. Right at the moment you visit a website, even if you've never been there before, let alone entered any information. Now, we know Google knows this, AT&T knows this, Facebook knows this, but for just on a blog or some kind of e-commerce website, we want to know this as well. This would be really interesting, right? Imagine if you went to a website, they know exactly who you were. Exactly, everything, right? That would be kind of bad, right? No? Oh. I guess it depends on who you are. Maybe you guys are all the bad guys. This is a good thing, then. So there's been different research on these kind of things. There's one, I'm not going to even begin to pronounce the name, but that was looking at the CSS history hack, if memory serves. There's been different ways to de-anonymize with decloaking in IE7. There has been research on this. My builds are a little off. And SMB decloaking. Move off that. It's a bad slide. So I started looking at different browsers and how they do autocomplete. And the one that was most interesting was one on Safari, Safari 4 and Safari 5. So I looked at this particular feature here. This says, use info from my address book card. It's enabled by default in both Safari 4 and 5. The interesting part of this particular feature is, if you look at the source code here, that's the extent of the sophistication. Those are key names. Name, company, city, state, country, email. You can also use phone and different things like that. That pulls information from the address book on your computer. You never have to put in that information the first time you go to the website or ever into your browser. It pulls it right out of the address card. Now, when you interact and you land on a website with that form or something like that, what happens is you type in the first letter of your first name or whichever one, J for Jeremiah. It gives you a pop down that says, and it fills out your name because it pulls it right out of the card. That's the behavior. And if you just hit enter, it'll land in here. So there's a little light blue here, but it's highlighted in here. Again, all you have to do is hit J and it auto completes it for you. That's the behavior. The interesting part that you are able to simulate this on the user's behalf. You use JavaScript events to just type in a letter. So my name is Jeremiah, so I set up input type equals text, name equals name, or first name, or whatever the case may be, and I go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, fills it out, grab it, and you steal it automatically. And you loop through every single one of them in order, really, really quickly, and it works great. You just cycle through them all. And the even better part about it is you can make it transparent. I'm going to show you a video of this. If I could find it really quick. All right. Wrong way? There we go. All right, so this is, at the time I took this recording, Safari 5.0 was the most recent version. I'll tell you about the disclosure process later. Again, that feature is enabled by default. Make sure it's enabled. That's the form that could be, notice the website, it's on victim, right? So anything, anything I type in there, I'm just double clicking in there to show all the information that's in the autocomplete being pulled out of my address book. This demo code, this is on Hacker. So I'm just going to cycle through generating keystroke events on the user's behalf until it fills out really quickly. And then I pull the name right out of the autocomplete really, really quickly. So right when you land on a page, you just cycle this really, really quickly. And you can know exactly who they are, where they work, what city they're from. Even cooler is that how do you distribute this code? You can distribute this code through advertising networks, little JavaScript includes all over the place. Any place where you can get your users to interact with your JavaScript, you just pull this information out from wherever you want. Now, the disclosure process on this was, I thought, pretty interesting. I found this one in, let's say, late, maybe October of 2009. I have the exact dates I posted, I forgot what they were. I disclosed it to Apple, didn't hear anything back, I got an auto response, sent it back and said, you guys know of the issue, have you found this one before? Got nothing, figured they didn't care, and decided to go ahead with a Black Hat presentation on it. And a week prior to Black Hat, I was just talking about what I was going to present, and then media storm happened about this particular issue. Apple rushed out a patch without talking to me just before my talk, and that was really nice of them. And patch the issue and all is good. What you can do, separate from the patch is you can still disable the particular feature. So I thought, okay, cool, they patched it, and all was well and good. So I took it upon myself to have a look at this particular feature and go, how did they implement this? How might we be able to get around it? So let's go back over here. This is a fully patched version of Safari. Now, here's the interesting thing what happens here. So, do you suppose if we're a bad guy, we might be able to make a user click 2 buttons? Yeah? They click on anything. So let's say we visit this particular website and they wanted to play an online game for whatever reason. Let's just, play along. We want to play an online game. Now, the first thing you must do to play this online game is to press, U to jump. Imagine some kind of visual with a little icon that's going to jump. So we're going to press U, right? Now, notice the form on this side. You see that? Right? Let's reload this again because I want to make sure everybody sees this. Right? So here, first page you land on, whatever you want to do, you want to get your where server or something else like that, it asks, say, you press U first, okay? U, right? All of a sudden it fills in US. It might know where I'm from. You can be geo, IP, or whatever. But right now, that S is. Okay. So anyway, the S is now highlighted. Now there is a particular interesting feature with autocomplete, and it's called the tab button. So the next thing that you're asking the user to do after they press U is to press tab. No problem. We press tab. And all that information pulls out, even worse than the last one, because the last time we couldn't get phone numbers or anything that begins with a number. So now everything that they had in their autocomplete, everything dumps out. 2 buttons that you have to convince the user to press. So I found this one in middle of August, and I think August 10th is the exact date. Wrote it up to Apple, and actually, I should step back. So after my presentation, I got approached by 2 Apple security employees, Apple product security. Nice enough guys. Say, we're sorry for the last miscommunication the last time. Here's our card. Please email product security if you find anything new. And kind of mend the fences. And I said, no problem. You guys took all the bad press. I did it as a courtesy. So I found this one. Emailed product security. I said, hey, your last patch was incomplete, I think.